Welcome, everybody. My name's Samantha Foster with UVI. I'm excited to be here, and today we're going to talk about enhancing the customer journey with automated vehicle inspection systems. Alongside of me, I have Michael Seaman, our VP of Sales for UVI. We're really excited to have him here. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Good, Samantha. Thanks for having me.
Of course, very excited to be here with you. And then alongside Michael and I, we have the pleasure of having Peter Smith, founder and managing partner of the Lions Group. And he is a dealer development agency, which is really exciting. I think it's really needed in today's industry. He's helping dealerships find the right services that actually enhance their customer journey. So he is going to add a lot of great conversation today. Michael, why don't you kick it off and tell us a little bit about UVI and what we're doing to enhance the consumer journey?
Absolutely. And first of all, it's really an honor, Peter, for you to join us today. So thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day. We're really excited to have a chance to have you join us today. It's been great over the last couple of days to get to really know you. And so excited about our conversation today. So for those online that aren't familiar with UVI, let me just do a couple slides, and then I'm going to go through actually a live condition report so you can actually see the power of what UVI brings to the market today. So as Samantha says, we automate the vehicle inspection process today. And we work, on this slide here, you can see we work across various transportation segments, from the OEM to fleet to auctions. And then on the last two on the right, fixed operations and variable operations in the automotive retail sector. At the end of the day, all of these transportation segments work in managing assets, right? From the OEM to fleet and so forth. What we take responsibility in doing is helping all of these segments manage that asset, the value of that asset, whether it's the OEM when it's leaving the assembly line, whether it's fleet, like Amazon today. We partner with Amazon as their global fleet provider. Anytime a truck comes in off its route, they're getting an inspection report to determine any issues with that van that would keep that van from being off the road. Just like an airplane, they make money when they're in the air. The Amazon vans are making money when they're on the road. Same thing with auctions. How do we truly see the total value of that vehicle, that asset, when we're at an auction? And then as we get into fixed operations, it's really where I specialize in with my team, is the fixed and variable side. And this slide right here talks about the impact of UVI. So for example, in fixed operations, whether it's the check-in process, whether it's loaner vehicles, whether it's helping dealers lower their policy, those are the areas we focus in today in the service department. From a parts side, tire sales, right? I'm going to show you a condition report in a second where you can see why we can help dealers share with consumers if it's an expired tire, if there's damage to the tire, and how they also can track from a data perspective which tires are coming into the dealership, and also additional part sales, right? Just from the damage that we're going to show from the automation that we provide. And then recently, as of late 2023, we shifted from just being a fixed operations solution to being a dealership tool by adding the variable component to our system. And so, for example, in the sales area, the PDI process, we're really engaged with some of our OEMs like General Motors and Volvo to help them when it comes to the automating the PDI process. So think of it, the vehicle leaves the assembly line, gets onto the carrier of freight, arrives at the dealership. They do the PDI process through UVI to determine if there was any damage, that they can do a comparison back to the manufacturer to see if it was a carrier issue or where the issue was on the vehicle. The other thing that's really important and I'm excited about is our appraisal reconditioning capabilities, where we're helping dealers lower their overall reconditioning cost for every acquired vehicle. And as we get into this conversation, we're going to share with you some of the data that we're seeing across the board. The next area we're going to be focusing later this year is merchandising. Today, we can drive a car through within 30 seconds to a minute. We can create an external vehicle condition report. We now have the capability to do the inside of the car through something we call Apollo, where we can do a 360 view of the interior, take other additional photos, and be able to take that information and place it up on a dealer's website to help us get the time to market as quickly as possible. And then the last area before I keep moving on is an F&I. Think of it this way. I'm an F&I manager, and Samantha brings her car in for a trade-in, and we agree on a number on a new vehicle. This is Samantha's new Chevy Blazer. She likes red, so she's excited about this new Blazer. She comes in the F&I office, and instead of me just saying, hey, here's a good, better, best menu, here's some videos as to why you should buy these products, what I'm going to do is pull up a condition report of Samantha's trade-in and share with Samantha, this is how you drove your car the last 3 years, whether your tire and wheels, so we can look at that, the damage you did to your tire and wheels, the damage potentially underneath your vehicle, the damage that you did externally, so that we can help you look at protection packages that we offer to help with the investment going forward. So those are the areas, the transparency. So those are, as I forgot to mention earlier, there are 3 T's that we focus on. Trust and transparency for the customer. How do we provide our dealers with the ability to retain those customers on a regular basis by building trust and transparency, whether it's the first service appointment or I'm doing a trade-in or vehicle acquisition. And the last one is time. How do we help give our dealerships and their teammates more time to work throughout the day? Next slide. Oh, actually, I got it. All right, sorry. This is an example of a condition report that on paper, but actually, let's go to a real one. So let's go to a real one in here. You can see my screen. I'm going to pop this up if everybody can see. So this, I'm going to pretend that Samantha has maybe Peter. Peter, you drive a 2014 Cadillac. I know you don't, but let's just pretend you do. Peter brings his 2014 Cadillac in for service. And as the advisor, I'm going to basically be able to show Peter everything that's going on with his vehicle externally. We're going to start with the recommendations. It's going to tell him that he needs to look at replacing 3 tires and then check the undercarriage. And also, by the way, we have an active recall. So we're actually be able to pull up information on that active recall that we can share with the customer. Again, I'm building trust and transparency. This could be my first visit or my 20th visit, but I wanted to share with the consumer, this is how we work with you. And oh, by the way, why do I think I need to tell you to check some of your tires? Multiple reasons. First of all, the tires are 5.3 years old. How do I know that? Is because we're reading the date on the tires, right? Because we use computer vision technology. We take about 1,000 photos and videos every time a car goes through our system, and we stitch it together to create this condition report. So I know that the tires are over 5 years old. Depending on the state you're in or the brand you're in, that could be a safety concern, any tires over 5 years old. The other thing we look at is tire depth, right? Let's say these tires I've run these tires really well, really hard, is another reason that I want to replace these tires. I also have damage on these tires. Our AI, as you can see, the highlighted boxes, I'm going to scroll in. You can see I've really done some damage on this tire. Right, I've really dug into this tire, curved it a few times. So another safety concern that I have that I want to be able to share with the customer. It's just not me, the dealership, or a human being trying to convince Peter that he needs to replace tires. It's me showing Peter right away that he needs to replace the tires. Let's check the undercarriage. How many people check the underneath of their car? Probably not many. So I'm checking underneath of this car. This is the scan that went through. This is really good for the appraisal perspective. If I am appraising a vehicle, 9 times out of 10, I am not putting that car up on a rack because my service department is too busy. So this will give me visibility to any damage underneath the car. Well, you can see here, our AI has picked up a few things. So we look, as you look here, this could potentially be the beginning of a leak somewhere in the car. I don't know that for sure, but I'm going to share this with the consumer. Quick story, my wife hates to go to the car dealership because she always says when that car goes behind the magic curtain, she doesn't know what happens, right? They come back out with an MPVI, the technician or advisor. She's not sure really what's happening. This sets the stage emotionally for a consumer to say, okay, I do potentially have an oil leak, or I have some other leak or fluid issue with my car, or maybe I have some other damage underneath my car that I'm not aware of. We also provide the rust view, right? So if I'm appraising this vehicle, I want to see, especially in the Northeast, if there's a potential rest in this vehicle, I'm going to look to either retail this car or wholesale this vehicle. I want to know what's going on with the vehicle. And then the last thing we do from a condition report is exterior damage. So I have 19 detections on this car. And it's broken down by body style or area of the vehicle. So basically, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to be able to see that there's a ding. You can see this quarter-size ding on this vehicle right here because of the halo or the zebra stripes that go through the system when the car goes through. We're able to pick up any abnormalities within the vehicle. So this is how we basically are able to capture all of these potential issues from a dings, dents, scratches. So if I'm doing PDR, paintless dent repair, or if I have a collision center on-site or off-site, this could be a feeder system for our body shops, for our dealers. Okay.
It can also be a feeder system for the divorce lawyers, because then you would actually affirm my wife's belief on how I drive my car. So
you'd be surprised, Peter, when we see the data. We see the data on tires, the right side of the car, right? We drive on the left, the right side, it always has the worst damage, and we don't know that, right? We don't always realize that.
No, it's the challenge is that you don't know that you don't know because you don't look. And
Right.
when you have a system that's out there that can provide you this information, it's absolutely phenomenal because it does build the trust and transparency that dealerships lack today. And I wouldn't say dealerships believe that they don't lack it, but the public perceives that they do. So we have to bring up a system like this that helps us along the journey.
Couldn't agree more, especially when 70%, I just read the other day in Automotive News a week or two ago that 70% of customers are leaving the dealership post warranty. Right. I think a lot of it has to do with the perception that that dealerships are more expensive. I can't trust them as much, but I'll go for my warranty because it's part of my purchase. But as soon as that's done, I'm out of here. I'm going down the street somewhere else.
Yeah. So currently, and since we've all gone through this really unique thing in the last couple of years in auto, 70% of our customers will never return to our dealership after purchasing a car. Right off the bat, we lost 70%. And that was based on inventory controls and not having the cars. So right now we're dealing with 55% transient customers into our dealerships. Those people have no relationship with us. So with a platform like UBI, it builds that relationship through trust and transparency that we're actually there to enhance their experience at the dealership. Secondary, as you come back to the term time is the number one issue in customers' valuations of dealership experiences. It takes too much time. While this eliminates time of trying to explain something, trying to show something, trying to send an email or a text message and saying, here's what's wrong, it's done before customer even gets out of the car. So it's absolutely a phenomenal system.
Thanks so much, Peter. I know you've been a huge advocate of us, and we really appreciate it. And we really appreciate, bringing us up on LinkedIn. Tell us a little bit. I know you're in a lot of dealerships today and you're helping bring different services. What do you think about this kind of robust technology that can be seen in both the sales and the service department? We've spoke about this before, really connecting the two. So even like you said, in the F&I office, to be able to show maybe that rust in upstate New York when I worked for a dealer group, I can't tell you how many rust protection services we sold. We sold them a lot, but we probably would have sold even more if we were able to actually show the customer the damage. It's one thing to say it, but it's another to actually have the visual for someone to actually see, hey, here's exactly what's happening to your car. And what's really cool about our technology and how I think it really enhances the customer journey is everything we're doing is pulling the customer into the conversation. So we're not telling them, we're making them a part of the process. What are you seeing today in dealerships?
Okay, so there's two ways of looking at the benefits of UBI. First is, and I always say, is the customer, because the customer is the one who pays the bills for everything. Doesn't matter what we think, without the customer, we don't have anything. The second is obviously the dealer experience, and how we mold those two together is the importance of all these platforms that I'm out there promoting selflessly, because I'm not paid by anybody to do it. I do it because I know that it is the right platforms for the experience. And this is why I got back into the business after a small retirement period during COVID. However, if we look at it, and let's take the last of the slide that we were talking about was F&I. And if we can turn around and say, what should we actually be promoting as a dealership to provide benefit to our customers through actual driving experience? Well, we have a live think tank running through our service department, or service drive, I should say. And as we go through that service drive, we're collecting data, which data is the absolute key currency in the dealership today. So we're collecting all this data. And we're turning around and we're saying, okay, of the last 2,000 cars that ran through our service department, this is the condition of these cars. This is the number one thing that an F&I product would solve for our customers. We should be promoting this product to this customer just based on that information alone to save them a headache in their car ownership. In doing so, we're actually becoming customer-centric, not profit-centric. And being customer-centric does not remove profitability, but it enhances profitability because then we're looking at long-term customer value. The longer the customer owns the car, the longer the customer remains with the dealership, the longer the customer is going through the cycle and how many people that they're referring to us and the repetitive purchase. So it is very important to be that customer centric. The second side of it for the dealer is, if we look at the data that is being captured, and Sam, you and I have had this conversation about UVI being a data company. And when you said that, I went ding, 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 like a Vegas slot machine, because it was the biggest, brightest light bulb above my head when I went, oh my God, look at what we can extrapolate from this one machine. And I would pay, as a dealer, a lot more than you're offering as a cost to put one in my dealership. I'd pay a lot more to get that intelligence and that ability. We can look at it in any number of different ways. We can look at a vehicle acquisition. We can look at a vehicle recon. We can look at liability issues. We can look at policy. We can look at so many different areas that are all going to reduce the cost back to the dealership. So UVI is not a cost to the dealership. It's an investment that the dealership should make in themselves, because it is there and it's so much information. I'm a kid in a candy store when I think about UVI and how many different opportunities it provides a dealership that I represent. So good kudos to you with GM and Volvo and the other brands that are out there. And I loved, and you can go into it in one story, is the story of the hood on Porsche at the Porsche dealership. That just that one policy saved basically almost 2 months cost on a UVI machine. So it's
$12,000. Tom Wood, Automotive Group. Yeah, it's pretty incredible to hear our customer stories. Let's kind of build upon that. Michael, I know that you're with our customers all the time talking about how they're using it for liability and to really reduce those insurance costs. How do you feel about how automatic vehicle inspection is playing a role in those kind of insurance claims?
So I look at it in a couple of different areas, Samantha. First of all, what we do is a rinse and repeat, right? So Peter, we were talking earlier, right? We're human beings. To get someone to do the same thing over and over again can sometimes be challenging, because we're creatures of habit. We want to do things that's sometimes convenient and easy for us. Listen, the role of the service advisor, I think, is one of the most complicated roles, because they wear so many different hats in the dealership in terms of how they're working with customers and different systems they have to be in on a regular basis. So especially when you think of it from a loaner car perspective, right? Customer comes in, they want to take a loaner car out. Today they drive it out, bring it back in. If there's damage on it, how well is the dealership really exploring the damage to that loaner car from a liability and policy perspective? We actually have a store up in the Michigan area that it's a Jack Land Rover location that's being installed now. But one of the big reasons they went with UVI is because of loaner car damage. They don't always see the underneath of the car. And these are some pretty expensive loaner cars that customers have. So our rule of thumb and our best practices is customer drives through the condition report. The dealership makes it part of their loaner car program that you have to get a condition report done prior and a condition report post bringing the car back. Then they can do a comparison with the customer. And if there is significant damage, it's a conversation with the customer. Do they put that on the customer's personal insurance for that damage? So to me, that's a big part of it. And the other piece, and we'll talk about some data in a second, is policy. How do dealerships protect themselves? We just talked about the Porsche example, from customers that come in and say, that ding wasn't there, that scratch wasn't there. I'm not saying people are dishonest or are looking to get one over on the dealership, but sometimes people may not recognize that damage was already there on their vehicle when they brought it in. And so we help reduce on average, a dealership's monthly policy or goodwill by 70% on a monthly basis. So that's really the part that we're helping dealers build more confidence, not just in how they operate internally, but how they can operate with consumers from a credibility perspective.
So just on that policy alone, I as a dealer, I would spend an exorbitant amount on small little things, and it would just continuously add up. And you would look at it and say, "Oh, it's $100. I'm going to keep my customer happy with $100 for a PDR or whatever it is." But it just keeps adding up and adding up. And at the end of the month, when I'm looking at my statement, and I go, "How did it get that high?" Well, I made 30, 40 people happy because we didn't do the proper check-in. We didn't do the proper viewing. And I'm sorry, but a iPad taking a picture of the side of a car is not going to give you the response that this is going to give you. So again, it's penny wise, pound foolish, as they say in Britain. So it's you really should be investing in this.
Yeah, it's really pretty incredible to see the times, we talk about the savings that it has, financially, but what about the time savings? The time saving for that service advisor. Most service advisors today go out and they're, at the old dealer group I worked at, they would have to walk around every single vehicle. And now that service manager doesn't actually, or service director, they don't actually have any ability to actually see what they're seeing. And now the service director is able to see what they're seeing. Those service advisors are able to spend more time talking to the customer about maybe their son's little league baseball game or building a relationship in those ways. The time savings alone that it provides dealership, I think, is worth noting in this situation, on top of the financial piece to it.
Again, the number one statement by customers today is time in a dealership. Whether it is in service or in sales, it's time that they spend in the dealership. That's why mobile service is taking off huge, but mobile service is not going to increase the revenue portion of the dealership that is possible when the vehicle is actually physically in the dealership. So when we look at it and we run it through UVI, by the time the customer gets to the service writer's desk, everything is there and ready to go. And that is incredible, because now, not only this, the time, look at the professionalism. What is it? It's going to be two different experiences from someone saying, "Hold on, I'm glad you just pulled up. Give me a second. I just got to get my camera out on my phone. Hold on, I got to put it into my camera. And okay, give me a second. I just got to do a video walk around your car to prove that there's no damage on the car." Well, you've already lost the customer's trust by confronting them, by saying that. When it's automatic, it is the trust factor is absolutely enhanced, not eliminated. And that's something that is so significant about UVI. It's enhancing the trust. It's enhancing the transparency, and it's definitely eliminating wasted time. And as they say, once time goes by, you can't get it back.
Well, let me give you a real example, Samantha and Peter, real quick. So last week, Toyota Hollywood, which is one of the top 2-3 dealerships from a volume perspective in the United States, they do roughly 8,000 repair orders a month. So it's a pretty big store. On Saturdays, they can do roughly 350 repair orders just on one Saturday alone. They have 4 inbound lanes and 1 outbound lane. They literally went with us to put 4 systems in. It's the largest install we've ever done. So there's 4 UVI systems in a row for all these cars that come in on a regular basis, on a daily basis, a couple hundred, 200 to 300 repair orders a day. And for them, the biggest thing, to your point, was time. How do I get all these cars through my service lane, get the valet to take and walk the customer from their car into one of the 17 service advisors that they have at that location today, to then have a consistent experience? That is, for them, one of the biggest things that they can say, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, thanks for coming in. We want to go through a condition report. And then again, it's the same experience whether they meet with myself, Peter, or Samantha. It's a consistent experience. And by the way, it's saving time because I don't have to go out and walk the car. I already have that done because of the volume. The valet is taking the car, moving it, the next car comes in. It's just like a factory. And so that's really from a time perspective, but then providing that customer experience.
Well, the consistency shows professionalism, and the tools that we use is paramount to that, and that's what is exemplified by UBI.
Yeah, you want to know what? If you think about it, when I first got into automotive, I would hear it all the time. And even myself, I felt like it coming from HVAC, and I was kind of flabbergasted that it felt a little behind the times. But if you think about the technology that we're adding to dealerships today, we're right up there with them. You could get a vehicle inspection report faster than you can order a coffee on your Starbucks app. I mean, maybe if you already have it pulled up, but I can't order a coffee as fast as I could get a vehicle inspection report. So to think about how we're transforming our dealerships through technology is really it's an exciting era to be in automotive. I think oftentimes we don't give ourselves enough credit, but we are really changing that timepiece inside of dealerships. Lives are busier. I know myself, you kind of dread going to a dealership because of the time that it's going to take, but you don't dread the time it's going to take to actually order a coffee. But now we're adding technology that's making it just as fast, if not faster, which is really exciting.
That is so true. I joined the car business, I have to say, before you were born, Sam. But when I joined the business, there was no cell phones, no computers, no nothing. It was all done by hand and by mail. So I've gone through the entire technical revolution in this industry, and in the last 2 years, the exponential growth that it has seen and how much information that we can gather to help the customer. And I'm going to say that again, to help the customer, because it's the customer that pays all our bills. It is absolutely incredible. And when we look at and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or not, but you look at the data that we can collect from this one platform, just this one, forget about DMS systems, CRMs, telephone systems, you name it, just from this platform, how we can help and assist the customer. I can engage into probably 8 to 10 different verticals in the dealership alone, just from UVI. And you want to find a car? It's there. You want to know how much it's going to cost you before you even buy it? It's there. You want to know what our part sales are going to be? It's there. You want anything? It's all there, and it's significant to everything else that's available. If you think about it, we all want to know what is happening without question. So it's amazing. And then today I was on a call, an EV call this morning, and about all these Hertz rental cars that are coming back into the population. And right. One of the most significant things with a battery electric vehicle is the underside. How incredible is it to run a car through the underside camera and see exactly if there's any penetration without even worrying about it? As a used vehicle director, you know that you're buying a safe car, that rather than one that has any type of impact damage. So it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and let's jump into the data piece of it. I know me and Peter could go down a long rabbit hole on data. We have done this many times. It really is probably the most exciting part of our technology, and we like to think of ourselves as a data company. But there's a lot of data out there, right? So everybody's talking about data. but how do we make the data simple and easy to use? How do we take the data and we're able to easily activate it and build processes around it? It's not enough to just have the data. We have to be
Correct.
able to have it in a format that's digestible, even for the customer, right? So if you think about vehicle inspections in the past and, you know, those papers that we would get, the yellow paper, I'm forgetting the name of it, but you would get it and it would be so confusing. There would be words all over. It would be actually really hard for me to grasp when I have probably two little kids, you know, clinging onto my legs, and I'm trying probably to get them to preschool on top of putting my vehicle in and change over the car seats, all just for, you know, an oil change. So really, how are we leveraging this data? Michael, can you talk to us a little bit about how dealerships are taking the data from UVI platform and actually activating it and making it easier for both service advisors and customers to digest?
Yeah, good point. But real quick, I want to go back real quick on something we talked about the customer
Yeah.
journey. I think it's important from the dealership's perspective. You know, I spent a couple of decades in the DMS space, and dealerships would have to hire people because of the DMS that they were on, and it was frustrating for them. The one thing I really like that we're trying to help our customers with today is being able to say, you can bring people in from the hospitality industry, you can bring people in that can just provide a good overall customer experience. So I think as you think about the customer journey and what we're trying to do, I think that's something I wanted to add real quick to the mix. As far as data goes, yeah, there's various things that we look at from a data perspective on how, first of all, how we can help our customer, right? We look first how we can help the dealership improve their overall operational efficiencies and revenue opportunities. We try to take and break down the cost of our system by looking at the cost per scan. So if the cost per scan at the end of the day with UVI is $3.25, anytime I drive the car through, how do I take that scan cost, add it to my cost of doing business to make the system revenue neutral so that anything else that I sell, tire alignments or new tires or alignments or body work or any other damage, becomes revenue positive for me in the dealership. So that's how we're trying to help them just look at from a data perspective, from a costing perspective. And then we look at other data points that we have. Maybe we want to pull those up real quick. We can just share. And I think some of the big ones are retention, right? What is one of the biggest things now that dealerships are trying to do in parts and service? And we just talked about it. We talked about fixed operations is retention, right? How do I keep that customer? Carl Sewell's book, right? Customer for life. How do we keep customers to stick around once they buy that first vehicle? Sales is going to sell that first vehicle, but the service department is going to help sell those next vehicles. And that also goes with the way that they're taking care of that customer through that customer journey and the satisfaction. So customers that use UVI, this is across our whole network, are seeing a plus 4.3% increase in service retention. Increased satisfaction. Net promoter score is huge. It equates to a lot of money for our dealer partners. And we see dealers, and we've got some of this data from General Motors and other OEMs that partner with us, a plus 5 to a plus 13 in net promoter score. Just transaction growth. I mentioned it earlier. You know, an increase in dollars per RO from anywhere from $25 to $55 per repair order by simply getting the car through the system and showing the scan. Those are two things we really preach every day, rinse and repeat. Get the car through the system and show the condition report. And then just a couple of data. Yep, go ahead.
Just sitting on that alone, and one of the challenges most people have, they look at it and they say, okay, well, UVI is a cost. Well, it's not. It's an investment. And the second part of it is, how do we pay for our investment? Well, most dealers out there charge a shop supplies fee in every single RO. It doesn't matter. It's to get rid of all the unrecyclable materials, whatever it is. If you put a small charge on for an inspection fee, and I would guarantee if you explained it properly that no customer would ever complain, because you can show benefit to it. If anything happened to your car, sir, we can prove that this happened after the fact, whatever, for your insurance. Everything's there. We're there to protect you, and that's why we do this. So there's a tremendous value to the small cost of UVI.
And I think that just the comfort level of the customer has played into a lot of these numbers. So having a consistency in both the sales and the service departments. So now when they're going to, sell their car and purchase a new vehicle and they run their vehicle for the trade through UVI, they're getting that same consistency when they walk into the service department. So they're comfortable with how the vehicle report is coming out. They know what to expect. People don't have to guess what's going to happen when they come into the sales or the service department. They know what they're going to be met with, which I think is a really important piece that contributes to a lot of these numbers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah,
the next slide
that's
is
good. Yeah, good insights. And this is just some more data. I won't go through each of these data points, but this is, again, leveraging data from our network of all of our current customers. You can see the various categories. As I mentioned before, reconditioning is big. On average, our dealers are seeing a savings in reconditioning costs per acquired vehicle, $500, because they're just seeing the true overview of that vehicle, that asset. We talk about managing that asset. If Samantha brings her car in and she's going to trade it in, I've got to make a decision, because as a retailer, I'm either retailing cars or I'm disposing of cars. So if I'm going to purchase her vehicle, am I going to retail it or am I going to dispose of it through an auction or other means? I better make sure I understand what that asset value of that asset is. And so we're really helping lower some of the reconditioning costs on acquired vehicles. And then one of the bigger things I like I mentioned the policy, but this one in the middle here, revenue opportunity per scan. This is why it's so important that we always, are adamant with our customers, get the vehicle through the system, show the scan, because the revenue opportunities per scan are crazy when you look at it. Now, are you going to sell $220 of additional work for every repair order? Probably not. But I'm going to present that consistently every single time to a dealer or to a customer when they bring their car in. And it's nothing special I have to do. I have to walk around the car, take with an iPad or take pictures. The system does all this for me, and it shows me all the different opportunities to work with that customer.
Exactly.
And the interface is already up. It's already up for even the service director to be able to actually see what his service advisors, he can see the vehicles. He can see if they need tires. He doesn't have to walk around and see each of them, right? He can now just look in this user interface and he'll be able to manage his team better because he's going to be able to have those conversations with them. And those service advisors are easily able to have those conversations with the customer.
So in this scenario, using this system, the service advisor becomes a trusted advisor, because what they're showing the customer is the truth. It's not something that is manufactured in time behind the magic wall or the magic curtain. It's as it's coming in, and right just in time, just as the person comes out of the car, it's there. The data is there to become a trusted advisor. Mrs. Customer, Mr. Customer, whoever it is, they can turn around and they can be that trusted advisor that's saying, hey, we're here to find everything that is wrong with your car and how we need to move forward in the process of making sure you're safe and on the road as quickly as possible. Primarily safe. And in that video or in that picture where it showed the actual curb damage of the chunk out of the side of my 2014 Cadillac's tire, that tire wall is in peril of causing me an accident and possibly harm. So it is incredible that it's there and immediate and being able to present it honestly and trustedly.
Couldn't agree more.
The safety piece is a really big one for us at UVI. We really love the safety stories that we hear from our customers. And I think that being able to bring, even the tire age isn't something that usually a service advisor isn't getting on the ground trying to look at that tire age, but we're seeing how many overage tires are there, Michael, running through an average service lane?
Oh, I'd say there's anywhere from 15 to 20%.
15 to 20% of all tires running through that service lane are over age. It's both a safety issue and it's something that, you know, the ability to talk to the customer about getting that new set of tires and what does that look like and how can you put that into that RO. How we actually take that data and are able to activate better conversations with our customers. It's a powerful piece.
Absolutely. If you turn around and if you were to ask me who has to be the most qualified individual at a dealership, it's the service advisor. Because the service advisor not only has to be technically sound, but they have to be able to be the best salespeople on the floor of the dealership. Because they're there to show the people the actual truth of their automobiles and then get their, let's say, convince them that it is necessary for them to continue the service to the suggested values that they're going to show them. That's where the trusted advisor comes into play. And when you have something as trustworthy as pictures, real time, and actual, and I'm going to say this, before they enter the dealership because they haven't gotten out of their car yet.
Right.
And that's the truth of the matter. It's before they actually engage the dealership. So it's an incredible system.
That's a great point. We have about 5 minutes left, and our last topic for today, you're leading right into it. You know, perspectives on the automotive ecosystem. You know, as you said earlier, right before we got on this call, Peter, that it's rapidly changing. So how do we as vendors, how do we as dealerships, how do we continue to meet the demands of today's customers? Why don't you start us off, Peter?
So today's customers, with the advent of the good old iPhone that everyone seems to have, is a customer who wants instantaneous gratification. Technology is their power. If we look at that as the foundation, we equally have to have that as a dealership. Data has to be our foundation. And that data has to allow us to move forward and migrate to the customer's needs. So if we can turn around and provide them with instantaneous response to any question that they may have, it elevates our experience with them and continuously changes their thought process about coming back to the dealership. They're no longer coming to the dealership and saying, I have to be there for 2 hours because someone's got to go and do something and then do something else and do something else. It's done instantaneously now. And that is the most important thing that in the customer's eyes. That's why they all talk about timing. The second part is the trust and the transparency, as you mentioned at the beginning of the call. That is explained through visualization. That is the most important thing, because I wrote an article about perception and reality. Perception is that everything is perfect. Reality is everything is scrambled. And if we can show with a document or picture or video that what the actual truth of the matter is without confrontation, then we can gain our trust through that transparency. And that is going to accentuate the customer journey and keep them as a customer. So that is the two major things that UVI does in the new ecosystem of automotive retail. And that's one of the reasons why every single place I go, I say, have you looked at it? Have you investigated it? And why don't you have it? So those are my three questions.
So Sam, I think before we maybe wrap up or address any other questions, that Peter, you know, first of all, thank you for your time today. I think it's been fantastic that you took this time out of your day to spend with us. How can people, you know, we have your email address there, but when people reach out to you, what are some things you could help them with? I mean, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the Lion partnership a little bit. Love for you to plug yourself here since you've been talking about us for so long.
Sure.
Here.
All right. Well, I got back into the car business after retiring after a bad customer purchase experience of a car. And that's hard to believe, being in the business for 40 years. So you would think it would be just walk in and get what I want and walk out. It was horrific. So in doing so, I knew that we had to change the dynamics of this business. And I basically started the Lion Partnership, which is a collective of automotive experts all over the world that have come together to offer their services to bring better experiences to customers. I, as the founding member and managing partner, I basically do the assessments, and I look at a dealership or a dealership group and give the opportunity to the dealership to see where their challenges are, their pain points are, and how to address them through vetted vendors that are all experts looking to benefit the customer. And that's what we do. And we've been operated for the last 18 months, travel all over the North America doing it. And it's just been incredible. And I just can't wait to go to work every single day. It's just a fantastic event.
Well, Peter, there's not any time that I talk to you that I don't take something away. So I am sure you are providing extreme value to each of the dealerships that you're impacting.
Thank you.
On every clubhouse, on every podcast, you're all over the place. You know, you are making automotive a better place. And that is really how we're going to wrap this up. All of these different pieces, whether it's the vendors, the dealerships, the consumers, it's really about coming together to build and enhance customer journeys. So, Michael,
Exactly.
Thank you so much as always. Peter, it's always so great to chat with you. We're going to have to do this again soon. I would answer questions, but Jim, one of our regional sales directors, already handled that for us. Thanks so much, Jim.
Yes.
We really appreciate everyone's time today, and we look forward to doing this again soon. If you'd like to get a hold of any of us, we have our emails right under our names. Sam.f@UVI. We're happy to answer more questions. Michael.s@uvi.com and Peter@lionpartnership.com. Be sure to chat us and LinkedIn message us, friend us. We can't wait to hear from you all. Thanks so much, everybody.
Excellent.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks,
Thank
Peter.
you.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Samantha. Have a good day, guys.
Have a great day.
Thank you.